so happy we alive.
All things. And anyway, our teacher said, yeah, I've heard about this marijuana, that it causes people to have creative thoughts. And
fabulous, yeah.
and so he and this other friar went, and he said they dug up a bunch of it and smoked it like crazy, but that they didn't get any effect. And then I never heard about it again until I was like in college at University of Louisville.
I see, interesting.
So,
yeah. Well, the summer of '68, I decided that the high school educational system had failed because all the students, they didn't care. They were only there because they had to be there, and they were taking the subject because they had to take them. So after that experience with the Miwok Indian mound, the dig that we did with the anthropology and archaeology students, I decided to change my whole approach to education in the fall of '68. Told all my classes, look, things are going to be different around here from now on. There's no books, there's no homework, there's no tests. I'm going to give all of you A's. I don't want you to be worrying about anything. And it's going to be questions and answers, and we'll take it to wherever that leads us.
okay, Jim, I want to interrupt just for 1 second.
Yeah, sure.
I want to put your website down here before this segment of the show is up.
Okay.
This is a website where people can get in touch with Jim Kimmel. It's www.maui.net/
Tilde.
what do you call it?
Tilde.
Peace Inc. Email peaceinc@maui.net. James D. Kimmel, superstar swimmer and nuclear checker. Find the reinstated Hawaiian government on the web at www.reinstated.org. Email hawngovat@lava.net. Okay, now I want to get back to what you were talking about your new approach to education. There was some place over in England where they had some school where they had the kids letting them smoke and do whatever they wanted. It's kind of a liberal type thing. That's what it reminds me of a little bit. What happened with it?
Well,
did they throw you out of the school system?
ultimately I got set up and framed and fired by the principal, who was conspiring with the cops to get me busted and thrown out.
Oh, really?
So that's that happened ultimately.
Mm-hmm.
But before we got there, I figured if I could share the essence of everything I knew to be true and factual with my students, we'd be at the same point of common sense and understanding. That was the idea. But how to get there was the problem. So it all started pretty natural and easy with the question is, are you all here? I asked them one day, and they said, yeah, we're all here. I said, well, which is where? And they giggled a while. Finally, they focused in. They said, oh, room 13. I said, well, which is where? They said, well, Nevada High School. I said, which is where? Nevada, California. Which is where? The state of California. Which is where? The United States. Which is where? The Northern Hemisphere. Which is where? On the planet Earth. Which is where? In the solar system. Which is where? In the Milky Way galaxy. Which is where? In the universe. And I said, well, which is where? And they said, it's everywhere. I said, everywhere. Is it infinite? Somebody said, yeah, it's infinite. I said, okay, well, that's as far as we took that train of thought. So then I said, the next train of questions began with, what are the things that make up the universe? So we filled up the blackboard with words. And then I asked, okay, well, what are the things that make up the universe made of? That got us into a basic subject of physics and what is the material universe all made of. And I took all my classes over to Berkeley and up to the radiation laboratory and showed them the Bevatron and all the high energy physics operations, and had a real good time with my students in that regard. Then we come back and explored where do the things that make up the universe come from. And that led us into the discussion of relativity and Einsteinian thought. And I'd spent about a week talking unified field theory with him, which is where Einstein was at when he died. And that's where it was during that period of time that the cops used the student and the principal and the cops used a student to try to sell me some pot, and the student never sold me the pot, and when the cops busted me on the campus, they didn't find anything on me, so they took me down to the police station and stripped me and left me in the room naked for about an hour. Came back with a roach about that long. So, oh, we saw you throw this on the ground where you're standing. And I said, it's not my roach. I said, I eat my roaches. And that was when I discovered, wow, the cops cheat. They're not fair. They lied, and they used a roach to set me up and charged me with being under the influence and felony possession and using minors to transport narcotics, and all of a sudden I was facing 10 years to life in San Quentin. And
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So after I got thrown out of the school, I had to wait 6 months for the trial to come up. And in the meantime, during that period of time, I decided to write up a paper on the subject of my students and what we were doing at the high school. So I got to where we were all at as a group, 165 students all together, and went beyond where we were at when they set me up. And the consequence of that was ended up figuring out a solution that Einstein died after 17 years searching for a unified field equation that could explain the existence of everything, everywhere, to everyone, forevermore.
You figured this out?
I figured it out. And of course, pot was the major influence in my thinking.
I see.
It helped me discover reality beyond the frontiers of
Do you have an
contemporary science.
equation, kind of like E equals MC squared or something?
No, it's 1 equals infinity. Here, the 1 symbolizes the absolute of all relativities. It's an infinite absolute source of everything, meaning, value, personality, and infinity. And it turned out to be the will of God. It was the will of God. The 1 equals infinity was the 1 symbolized the will of God, which was ancestral to everything. And of course, as an atheist, it blew my mind, because the last thing in the world I was expecting to discover as an atheist was proof of the existence of God. And I had all the proof anybody could ever possibly want in the realization that I went through at the end of that relativity trail. So that introduced me to true religion and revealed God to me in a way that I couldn't understand it at the time. I figured, geez, maybe I must be God.
So you had like a religious conversion.
Oh, major, yeah.
Major, and it's connected with cannabis.
Oh, definitely connected. I mean, cannabis was the main influence on my thinking. And, feel good, think good. It's pretty simple at base level. And I didn't realize the source of truth was leading me onward and inward until actually I discovered God within myself. And about a week later, somebody says, "Hey, check this out." And it was a few lines from a book called the Urantia Book, and from a section titled Energy, Mind, and Matter. And I said, my God, how can anything like that be in print? Because it was beyond the frontier of traditional knowledge, and yet I knew it was real because it sounded true. So the Urantia Book is like a cosmology that integrates everything in infinity. So I thought, well, holy, there's no need for me to write up anything on the unified field theory or the equation that I finished, because it's already here. The Urantia Book is the cosmology of the unified field. And so I just started sharing that with everybody, and having classes that turned my home into a church, and started reading the book, and smoking pot was our sacrament. Which, by the way, see, when it come time for a trial, between middle of November '68 and the March of '69, I was an atheist when I got set up and busted. But when it came time to go to trial, I was no longer an atheist. I was a theist. I said, not only did I believe in God, I know God. So
Okay.
I figured